Right. Okay. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma shalli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, guys. Have you covered the video and some materials that I already passed over to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me, any comments or any input regarding the topic? No, before you say anything, this is a very important topic for your exam. Definite, there would be a question on this. You cannot run away because this is the favorite of Cik Nazim. Uh, he likes to create a question with regards to this particular topic, especially. But this topic is actually encompassing all the topics that we have learned so far. So you will be talking about meals, you'll be talking about art, you'll be talking about Austin, you'll be talking about natural law perspective, maybe so all those people that we have learned so far, and maybe you can also touch the area of Islamic jurisprudence, Akinas, who else? Everything, everyone. Yeah. With regards, the main topic here, as compared to the others, would be morality. Before this, we are learning them individually, but when it comes to issue of morality, is something else. It is basically uncharted punya waters, whereby it has every way of us to identify whether that particular area of morality should be regulated by law. If it is regulated, then to what extent? So this is the argument or dispute between jurists with on the topic of morality. So since you have already covered the area, hopefully. So any questions that you want to clarify?
Sir,
Yes, Aida.
in one of the article,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember which article, but
Mm-hmm.
it's in the lesson plan. So
Mm-hmm.
there are four types of morality, like social
Mm-hmm.
morality, religion morality, individual morality, and morality and
Mm-hmm.
nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if the principles of, for example, under religious morality, it's
Mm-hmm.
contradict with either social morality or individual morality, for example in term of LGBTQ, right? So
Mm-hmm.
under Islamic morality, under religious morality, maybe that it is prohibited
Mm-hmm.
because as stated in the Quran and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
But for social morality, for example, in Malaysia right now, there's already a movement to fight for their rights under LGBTQ. So it can be considered like for under social morality. So how to neutralize or cater to this issue?
Hmm. If you refer to Wolfenden report, that is the first report that is opening the floodgate. So once you open the floodgate, trying to recognize something by virtue of a social standard, that is something that we have to uh, cater to, right? Because this is something that is considered as acceptable by the society standard. Uh, the report is actually trying to maintain that you can conduct these so-called activities privately, by virtue of John Stuart Mill harm principle. And you discover now that upon the recognition, then the next step will be, if you were to allow us to do it in our own confinement, then what about those people who are able to do it, out in the open? So you have to give the same standard to us also. Once you recognize us as what we are, and now, then they move on to, okay, you can do it publicly, you can declare yourself, you can, and then it it develops, it's snowballing. We call it snowballing. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So your question is, Aida, about justifying or what? No, I didn't get actually what you were trying to say. So,
Uh, uh, like macam like how, yeah, justifying lah, like
hmm,
how this different principle can be adopted into um
our
law.
society,
Yeah,
into
our
our society.
society, and yeah.
Okay. So, if you compare Malaysia and other countries, especially the Western world, uh, they have forsaken, ataupun they have thrown away their morality standard, because the morality standard is based on the liberty of a person to do whatever they want, right? So, if you care about freedom of movement or rights of a person, then the standard of morality in the society is secondary. The priority is about the individual themselves. So if you are talking about freedom in the Western world, obviously they cater to that. They cater to the social freedom, or social standard, the social standard that they achieve, which is actually to give some kind of individual rights to all the members of the society. As compared to that, in Malaysia, we are still having this so-called morality standard by the society perception. So the society is unable to accept so-called the LGBT. Though they realize that there is an existence of LGBT, and they obviously realize that all over the world, maybe 20-40% of the world is now accepting LGBT and recognizing it by law. So, but still, the prevention of recognition is something that is prevailing in a society, because what we are having in Malaysia is that it is more towards a minority against majority. Jeremy Bentham. If you look at Jeremy Bentham, greatest happiness of the greatest number of people principle, right? So if you were to use Jeremy Bentham, it is about the majority happiness, and majority of people who are religiously based in Malaysia, no matter who they are, whether Islam ke, Buddhism ke, Christianity ke, even Judaism. Yeah, all religion, except the interpretation of Buddhism, maybe they do not recognize LGBT. Uh, that is the situation. If you want to look at social standard, you cannot equate social standard with religious morality, or social morality cannot be equated to religious morality, because they are not the same. They are different. Because social, there is no connotation of religious in that discussion. So that is why we have four categories of morality. Individuals, I mean, the preferences, that issue of you yourself wants to have some kind of things that you wanted to do. I don't know whether I answered you correctly or not, Haida. What do you think?
Sir,
Hmm.
why we cannot make like social morality equivalent to religious morality? If, for example, like we want to see that the society in Malaysia, for example, in a specific place, have majority profess Islam as their religion.
Mm-hmm.
So why we cannot you know macam mana cakap, nak samakan the social morality and religious morality.
Because they are society who doesn't believe in a religion. They profess their religion, but they don't never keep up with the demand of that religion. Religion is a way of life. So every religion is trying to give you some direction of how to behave in your living in this world. Say for example, Christianity doesn't promote LGBT, because there were stories of Lut, Lord, the Prophet Lord, in their what do you call it, in their Bible. So does the Jewish what do you call it, Torah. So in the basic religion, which covers two-thirds of the population of the world, Christianity and Islam both make up to, I think, three-fourths of the world population. In these two religion or three religion of apa orang kata, uh, this major religion do not uh, allow this kind of behavior. Now, having said that, we have societies, especially Western world. We have Scandinavian, European countries, and America, where they forsake. They don't care about their religion anymore. The teaching is no longer valid. That orang kata, they are Protestant, meaning they don't like the authority of the what do you call it, to be able to dictate and how they behave. So I think the same goes for Islam. It is being diluted. It is being misinterpreted. It is no longer way of life. People would want to do something that they think that they have the right to do. So we cannot equate. Bottom line, I tried to read the just law versus unjust law. Okay, we cannot equate between religious morality and social morality, because if you don't believe in religion, obviously you don't follow this religious morality. Obviously, you have your own standard. Now, we studied law, right? When we study law, it is about the standard. uh, what standard that you have to apply. Even religious standard, we can see clearly some standards should be maintained. But what about others standards in the religious morality? So morality is very subjective issue or subjective matter. So it is very difficult that you were to say that this is religious morality that you have to uphold. Doesn't make sense, because if you understand religion, religion is about a private law or private religion. It's not a public religion in that nature. It is not something for us to regulate the society by virtue of force. It is like ikrafidin, meaning if you believe in your religion, which trying to portray how you are to behave, then you follow that religion. So the question here is that when there is a conflict, as what our topic is trying to promote, which is a conflict between the positivist and the natural law, where is and ought collide. So some would say it must be as what it is. Some would say that it should be what it should be. Should be is a very subjective matter. My interpretation of something is different than yours. So every one of us in this class, obviously, we see things differently. So your interpretation is not going to be as what I interpret. If I were to interpret LGBT, I would say I welcome LGBT lah, tak pergi lah. If they want to do it, as long as they are doing it inside their quarters or inside a closed door, then it's up to them, because you cannot stop them from doing it. They will be doing it, but giving them recognition that they are able to portray it in public space, then that is a different ball game altogether. Which if you open one door, you have to open every door, meaning the floodgate is you have to open up to everything. Meaning the mental disorders, people will come in and say that, what about kleptomaniac who likes to steal? It is a mental disorder. How about us? Uh, Psychrophenia is psychropenia. Is another area of sickness that you have to recognize. So where does it stop? Where do you draw the line? The line is, very unclear. Then what about incest? What about you having sex with animals? Because if you allow different gender, then where does it stop? It doesn't stop with third gender. It will start to have fourth gender, fifth gender, sixth gender. Once you open up the floodgate, then everything comes in. Penal code go to, you just throw away penal code, you throw away inheritance law, you throw away, everything. So it will start disrupting. That is where Lord Devlin is trying to say that we have to have some quorum. Though it might seem as something that is petty, but yeah, you have to do it. Boleh, Aida? Any input?
Boleh sir.
Tak, tak.
I mean,
Macam mana?
boleh. Maksudnya make sense juga lah kalau kita, dorang boleh buat apa yang dorang nak as long as it is within private
Domain.
domain kan. So
Uh,
sebab kalau kita bagi recognition memang betul lah. Macam saya cakap, macam nanti orang ni akan claim this golongan ni akan claim dan sebagainya. Faham.
I mean, but some people would say that it is a freedom of a person to do whatever they want. So that is what I say. Macam sajat, or this kind of thing. I mean, there are people, macam my wife cakap tadi lah. I mean, dia kata, I mean, in her opinion, we are both quite liberal in a way. We are going to be, we have to be realistic. We cannot run away from the problem. Rather than, trying to allow this type of people to do whatever they want, we take them as an example to the society where some of them are flourishing in terms of businesses, recognize them in that sense, trying to, because they want recognition because of the taboo that is, stated. It is not about they don't know, or they want to do something that is in the open. They know how to behave, but there are certain people who doesn't know their limits. Just because they see themselves as different, they want to portray to other people that they are different. They just don't care about other people, which other peoples are also having their own problems. If you look at this mental disorder, say for example, this is the mental disorder that has been recognized by United Nations, more or less, WHO. So what happened to those suffering from depression? Then are you not to recognize them? Because this is something that is recognized by WHO, bipolar disorder. What about schizophrenia that I mentioned just now? Dementia, developmental disorders. So these are the group of people that have to also be recognized. If you are so keen to cater to certain group of people, saying that, yeah, we have to give them that particular rights, what happened to the rest of the group of people? So you cannot generalize. I think I can relate to Lord Denning when he mentioned in the case of mentorship in law of torts, negligence. Natasha, remember that she is the driver trying to learn how to drive the car, and then she hit the lamppost, and then the friend that is sitting next to her, who is actually the trainer, unofficial trainer, but that guy, her friend, suffered broken hip. Now he sued her for negligence. When she defended, she said that, I'm just a learned driver. The standard has to be lowered to cater my position as a learned driver. But it went to the court. Denning says that if we were to cater that, what will happen to all other people that also have some kind of problematic issues? Say, for example, handicap. You have to lower the standard if that person is driving a car, but handicapped in nature. So if we were to do that, what will happen? If we were to have a standard of professional, you know, the first day doctors, we have to have certain different standard for this particular new doctor as compared to doctors who are already 20 years in medical service. It doesn't make sense. If you were to cater, then it would be something that is very ambiguous, very, you know, problematic lah. You know, that is what I'm trying to say. So I think, yeah, input. Anyone?
So ada
Yeah,
input sikit
Karen.
lah.
Yes.
So because macam right now lah kan, macam the contoh yang saya bagi tadi kan, about if we recognize one, we have, then it creates a floodgate, and then we have to recognize the others keep going lah kan, it becomes non-stop basically lah, right? So basically kalau macam tu, does that mean that, you know, as a society kan, does that mean that we have to find a certain balance between macam hard and Devlin's theory in terms of morality? Macam for example, okay, macam hard, as long as benda tu does not harm anyone, and is conducted in private semua, okay, tak apa. But kalau let's say kalau kita macam Devlin, whereby you cannot do that thing whatever you do it, because even for people that are, let's say, non-LGBTQ, we don't go around, you know, kissing people in public. So basically, so let's say we would infer the same thing to even to, you know, LGBTQ members, whereby okay, because we cannot do that in public, so you also cannot do that in public. Everything we do has to be within a private domain, our private life, so that whatever we do does not infer the public's view. We do it in our own private self-enjoyment. Would that be okay according to, let's say we find that balance too?
Balance is something that is quite difficult for us to achieve. You know, because argument will come in, especially kalau you tengok argument that in Facebook, you know, everyone have their own opinion and they will state their opinion, which makes sense. You know, coming back to Hart and Devlin Fuller or whoever that, you know, engaging in this type of argument, they are all right. At the same time, they can also be wrong. So there is no right and wrong answer here. So in your exam, obviously, or in your life, obviously everything that you have to argue have two ways about it. You have two-sided of the coin. So you have to, yeah, say for example, you are the judge, right? You have to come out to a solution, and that solution must be basing on your perspective, your interpretation. So you have to find a fine line of how you interpret lah. So if you look at the decision in the case of Nazi's informer case, right? What happened to her? She is eventually punished, right, for telling about her husband, you know, against Hitler. The judge that decide the punishment for the husband to sentence him to death was acquitted. So, so it's quite problematic. You know, justice is supposed to be for all. So if she were not to report and they discovered that she knew about it but she keep quiet, obviously she can be sentenced to death because that is the law. Anyone that is saying negative about the Führer, means Hitler, then obviously they are under the law, provision of the law is to be punished. So she argued that, how can I be wrong when I am doing just what the law is asking me to do? But they found after the war that she is to be sentenced for her behavior that is just following the law, whereas the judge is acquitted. So, Khairul, I have no answer to that because this is where it is subjected to your interpretation, because everyone's interpretation is different, because they are all right, but at the same time, as I already mentioned, uh, you can argue, you can counter argue by saying otherwise. It is a very subjective matter, right? Macam Aida kata lah, individual morality is different than religious morality is totally different from social morality, right? So that is something quite difficult, but it is quite exciting. Kalau you tengok the one that I mentioned in our WhatsApp group about that student of medic not being allowed to sit for her examination, and that is about morality of the law, whether it is legal or not. You know, there is a two differentiation between legal and moral. So immorality, illegality. So which one is illegal? Which one is immoral? So are they legal to prevent her from going into examination? Is it immoral? If it's not illegal, then obviously it's immoral. So how can you without authority, without the pretext ataupun without the foundation of law, you create a law that overrides somebody else's right? That is immoral. Betul tak? I don't know. Some of you might agree and disagree. So the subject is still open.
Tapi kan sir, about the student, the medical student yang was barred to take the examination tu kan, based on the article that you sent tu, it basically shows that okay, she had mula she didn't want to take the vaccination, but then because the university kata is basically, you know, if you want to take the final exam, you have to take the vaccine. So then she accepted to take the vaccine.
But then it goes against your fundamental liberties. I know nobody is to force you to take vaccination.
Yes, but memang in our country it's not compulsory kan, it is still within our own limitation of choices. So but based on this situation, what I see the problem was that after even she has accepted to take the vaccine, the university has still failed to get her an appointment to receive the vaccine before her date of examination. So that is within the responsibility of the university lah kan, because
you know, some of you might fall sick. You know, I have to cater that. Yeah, I have to cater that. And when I'm the chair of the examination committee, you know, we do have a student that comes to us and say that I'm on medical, I have smallpox. Then we have to cater them and create a special place for them to do the examination. It is an additional burden for us to engage lecturers, you know, to be there, and then we have to have even one single student, we have to have two lecturers, because we cannot allow that particular lecturers to be there alone, because she or he might wants to go off and then take a break. You know, takkanlah 3 jam you nak pergi bilik air, tak boleh. So you can imagine. I wonder why UM doesn't want to go to that extent. You know, it is very logical for us to cater for students. Even last semester, I have a student who her father died. You know, the faculty asked us, lecturers who are related to her studies to give, leeways, extension of submission. We gave, because it is a valid argument and valid reason for us to do so. So I really don't understand why UM is trying to dictate on person when they should know what is their limits. So the problem here is that you don't know your limit. This is where you think that you are authorized to do something based on your perception of the law. And this is where all the situation that I've already given and shared, or things that you might come across, you know, they interpret as what they think that it should be, which is like, tak tahu lah. Aaron, yes.
But kan, that student has requested to take the exam separately from the university rejected that request from the student. So that implies that the university has breached some sort of their moral responsibility lah kan, as an educational institution to provide to somehow provide a need, a requirement for the
It's
students
a
to further education.
fair chance of a student to pursue the education without hindrance. You are putting stumbling block in medical study. Enough is very stressful. So why you are adding, and then you are wasting people's money. If she cannot get into the examination, meaning she has to repeat the paper, meaning the semester itself, even one paper, you guys might know this, right? Even one paper that you have to repeat one semester, you still have to expose to the expenses, to the time, and opportunity cost forgone. You can imagine 6 months that you have to sit for the paper, whereas you are supposed to go out and work. 6 month income. If you are getting about 3,000 per month, 6,000, 3,000 times six, that is opportunity cost forgone. So can you imagine you are stopping? How cruel are they? I really don't understand these people.
Sir.
Yeah, Naina, Aida.
Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, sir,
I am
nak
so
tanya.
emotional in this
Yelah,
situation. Yeah,
about
Diana.
the vaccine tu kan, I know that she's a medical student and whatever.
Mm.
But I heard like in other articles juga dia declined the first one because she was requested dia dapat Pfizer. So she refused that one, and then masa the second one masa dia diberikan AstraZeneca, and then dia accepted. But then tak sempat nak but then tak sempat masa the exam itself. So that was why dia tak nak the vaccine. She was picking the brands of vaccines instead actually. I
Good.
heard about that one lah pula.
So what's the issue?
So macam dia actually not je vaccine. It's just that she didn't want the Pfizer tu. She wanted
The issue whether you want or not, you choose whichever it is your fundamental right. So who is in the authority to say that you have to force people to do something that is against their will? So equality before the law, yeah, Aida.
Sorry sir, but I think ada pros and cons lah. Like as for the university, I rasa macam it is reasonable for the university like to take action like that, because she has been given the opportunity to take vaccine at the first place, and dia sepatutnya dah ada sufficient information yang dia as medical student yang akan undergo examination yang connected to a real patient kan. So dia sepatutnya fikir about the keselamatan patient yang dia akan
clinical
deal with it. So clinical examination kan.
You are giving an answer to a person punya rights to do whatever they want. You are putting your morality standard towards a person.
But harm principle, kalau dia tak ambil vaksin and then
prove it otherwise. She is just a student. It's not a doctor punya situation. Even doctors themselves, you cannot force them, which is happening throughout our system. Policemen, they are going to be punished. Firemen, fire department people. First liners. They are forced. They cannot have an option to choose, which is against the fundamental right of a person to to choose whatever they want.
So kalau patient tu patient tu pun boleh choose lah which medical student yang boleh attend to them. Kalau that medical
student. Can I force you to marry me or not?
Cannot.
My wife kata, "Weh, I want to give the point across. Can someone force you to marry you?
Cannot.
Then why you have this double standard? Certain issues you prefer it. Otherwise, you say, "Oh, this is general perspective. This is general opinion of the society." What is the society when it comes to individual preferences? That is your body. You cannot have someone else to be able to control your body. That's it.
Sir, sorry sir, may I intrude?
Yes. My wife kata, what about smoking then?
Apa dia?
You know, smoking is, is something that is going to affect the people surrounding you. But what happened? You know, can you stop? Can you make it illegal in that nature? It is still illegal. You know, I might be biased in my opinion. As I already mentioned, I have nothing against LGBT. We both don't have anything against LGBT. Tell you the truth. You want to do it, that is Allah punya test towards you. Me and everyone else, every one of you, we are going to be tested in our own way. So it's too bad that their test is or their test that they are suffering is that particular what do you call it behavior. Everyone else have their own test. You are suffering from the same mental or physical or somehow or other we are suffering because Allah is testing us. So just take it and you know trying to make it as a general perspective. I don't know. I'm more towards a negative way of looking into things. Yeah, Iman, Aida, Anis, obviously some of you or majority of you maybe disagree with me, but this is a subject that is going to be with you guys. I'm going to die sooner or later, so it is not an issue for me. You guys are going to live longer. You are going to be in the position where you are going to be in powerful position, right? So, ramai yang tulis ni, I tak baca, sorry. Sekejap, So, yeah. Allah, lagi 20 minit. Right. Please, okay, I already spoken my my things that I wanted to. Ya Allah, banyak soalan. Right. Yeah. Please, input from anyone else. You don't have to agree with me, guys. Just because I say that I'm against, doesn't mean that you have to agree with me. If I'm in the position to have you to agree with me, then I feel my job to open up your minds.
Okay, sir.
Right. So you stand your ground. I tried to read. Okay, Martin Luther King. Okay, it mentioned that the victim of oppression of unjust system are free to employ different means in order to bring about lasting justice. Yeah. So my question is that what does it mean by employing different means to protest peace? If yes, yeah. So if you allow people to oppress you without the ability for you to state your what do you call it, state your mind, state your opinion, yes, you can do that, but to what extent? Does it go to that social morality standard? You can go just because you have that inclination, then everyone have to recognize. The issue here is recognition by law. If it's not recognized by law, then it would be something that we don't have to worry about, because everyone have their own standard of interpretation. But when it comes to law, which we are doing right now, even inside law, the interpretation is different. That is what Hart and Devlin is talking about. Hart says, what do you mean by vehicles in the public park would not be allowed? What do you mean by vehicles? Does it mean vehicles that you're talking about World War II vehicles are not allowed? Do you think that bicycles are not allowed? Do you think that skateboards are not allowed? Which one? The interpretation of the judge when it comes to defining the word or the sentence or the text or the pages or even the whole document itself, is subject to, oh my God. So what do you think? That Peaceful protest depends on whether it is just or not. Something that is basically open to the society to decide lah. Soalan lagi. So while me reading this, macam mana you all? This is basically jurisprudence of morality. Just Riza kata, apa soalan apa panjang-panjang ni? To ask whether it is more prudent to break a mirror law or minor law, okay, when we face with unjust law. Yeah, okay. MCO SOP is deemed to have a double standard. To me, SOP is unjust. Okay. Our conscience find the SOP is unjust. Yeah, because when it comes to unjust interpretation of law, when it comes to okay lah pre-COVID, the government or the people who wants to be in power, they promise to the society you can open up small businesses by the roadside in order for you to earn an income. But when they are in power, they enforce the authorities, the Majlis Bandaran, to go and find these people for opening up as what they already promised. Then the argument here is why you're doing that. You can back it up and saying that this is the law. You know, I'm as an enforcer, I have to enforce the law. But to what extent? You know, this is something of a subject that have to be looked upon. You know, people trying to survive and you trying to do your job. To what extent? You know, because of clinical exam involve patient and put them at risk if does. Yeah, can does not want to take vaccine. Yeah, it's up to you. Right. I'm not actually into reading. Yeah. Okay, guys. Any input about the topic? Habis semua diam lah. Ya Allah. Is in the freedom of should be limited to certain extent, certain instant of freedom to harm others. For example, read examination that students supposed to take in questions. She is not possible. That's okay. So doesn't mean that you are suffering from COVID. If you did suffer from COVID, then obviously you are supposed to be prevented from practicing. But if you're healthy, you know, doesn't mean that you have to be forced uh, to take up vaccination. And this is I don't know. This is something that of us to discuss whether it is moral or not, legal or not. So bottom line, if you are to open to morality argument, obviously everything goes. You know, everyone have their own interpretation. Like what I did just now, I have given you my interpretation. Obviously, you have your own. You know, it all boils down to the law. If the law is very meticulous to the extent that there is no ambiguity about the sentence of right, whether you are to be vaccinated or not, then it opens up the floodgate, meaning the law is very clear. You know, you are not to be forced to vaccinated, but in certain situation, and then you are to be, you know, subjected to that particular rule, which is, you know very well, when upper laws as compared to the lower laws, obviously lower laws will not win. So if you apply the same rule in the court of law, you know, precedent takes place. If you can justify otherwise, how can you go against the fundamental liberties if you are to say that everything else is to be settled in a similar manner? This is just something of a situation that we are faced. Yeah, in exam, obviously you have to do the same thing. Yeah, guys, you have to read the materials and to be able to give your opinion. No
Sir,
matter, yes, Aida.
sorry, sir. Continue.
No, no. No matter what is your opinion, you have every right to state your opinion, but you must back it up by jurists. You know, if you are not backing it up by jurisprudence, then your answer is going to be wrong. It cannot be your own interpretation, which what we are doing right now. You know, by giving some kind of argument, we have to fall back to jurists. Even myself, just now, I was wrong when I give you my own opinion based on my own thinking. So it should not be in that manner. It has to fall back to jurisprudential perspective. Boleh guys? Yes, Aida.
Boleh. Sir, okay, for example lah, in Devlin's view, like
Mhm.
homosexual acts were a threat to society's morality.
Hmm.
So, in short, he maintained that legal intervention was essential to ensure both individual and collective survival and to prevent social disintegration due to a loss of social cohesion. Okay, so
Hmm.
kalau contoh lah, if that medical student dia anti-vaccine,
Hmm.
and society sekarang ada this macam gagasan to achieve this herd immunity. So
Hmm.
wouldn't that means that dia punya social moral, dia punya individual morality tu contradict dengan social morality?
Hmm. Betul?
So it can be justified like that kan?
It can be justified by the position of the law.
Okay.
Because bila you nanti practice, either you are the judge or lawyer, you know, or any argument that you enter with, it is basically based on the law because that is where we are supposed to be drawing the line, you know. Subjective matter, you know, when it comes to morality, everyone can say because it's very subjective, right? So everyone can have a say in establishing the standard. But when it comes to law, law is very clear. However, when it comes to law itself, kadang-kadang you can interpret it differently.
Okay sir. So
Nah,
kalau macam government boleh enact a law untuk mewajibkan semua rakyat Malaysia untuk ambil vaksin, then boleh lah
that
kan sir?
that would be a standard that we can apply, and everyone will have to follow. Even that, you know, even the forcing of vaccination by the government can be contested in the court of law,
Okay, faham?
kan? Because everything is subjective, right? But when it comes to morality, pure morality, then it's not the concern. Ini yang hak kata ni. If you were to take everything into perspective, then where do you draw the line? Law is law. Morality is morality. On the left side is near group kan. So you cannot be mixing them. When you say it is odd where morality is the major part of the law, there the problem comes in. Okay, LGBT, you know, issues of everything that is you know prevailing in our society must be related to the law. So even though the odd punya ada problem, you know, you are going to be having problem, but as compared to Islam, yeah, input. Dah tinggal tinggal lagi 8 minit. Sorry to take up most of the discussion myself rather than opening up to you guys. So sorry. We can continue with the discussion after in our tutorial ko petang ni.
Okay, sir.
Boleh ya? Aiman, I know you have something to say. Dewi, I don't know. Last remark. Any remark that you wanted to say?
Sir, can I?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So I think in the near future, in regard to this vaccination matter, especially the one that we addressed by the apa ni, yeah, incidents in UM, I think in the near future, either maybe 2 or 3 years ahead, we will struggle. Let's say macam kita tak boleh wajibkan orang untuk ambil vaksin, but then the institution they can have preference on whether or not to allow people yang dah vaccinated to enter their premise. Macam UM buat, ataupun let's say school, macam babies kan, yang kan dah ada certain narrative yang pushing for unvaccinated children should not be in NASCAR sebab akan harm other babies. So in the near future, we will struggle with that in regard to this COVID vaccination. And I think it is fair to say that government should impose their paternalism to like impose a certain standard of morality so that the personal freedom would not be exercised in a selfish manner.
Betul. Because when it comes to decision of the government doesn't want to play an active role when it comes to sensitive issues. You know, they don't want to put their foot down. They just let it be inside the society to quarrel or squabble over the matters, and then the problem would have to be resolved in the court of law, which is very immature of a government. We appoint them to decide on us, for us, on certain big issues that we can resolve. Like for example, apostasy. Like for example, the penggunaan nama Allah. You know, it is something that has to be resolved. You know, if you were to say everyone can use the word Allah, you know, then it would be something you don't want to open up that can of worms in order for you to deal with it. So you just want to run away and then play safe. Now, government politicians, they are just like that. They just want to play safe, and you know, at the status quo, I'm where that I can gain all the leverage or the advantages as being politician. But they don't want to solve society issues. Let's sit down and discuss issues that is very pertinent. So, for example, LGBT. If the society doesn't like LGBT, we have some quarters who are pressuring. Might as well do referendum. You know, might as well put it in the open. Let's put it to the discussion of the society. You know, let the society decide. And you, as the politician, have to put your foot down and saying that the society has spoken. This is what we want. I'm going to put our foot down. Next 10 years, we will come back and discuss this matter. You just don't want to do that.
Since you brought up about the LGBT, I think this is my own interpretation on why government does not make a very clear stance on that. I think if they were to, let's say, put referendum like you said, and then the public, judging by the current scenario, how the public reacts to LGBT community, maybe the referendum would result in not in favor of the LGBT community, which later the government will have to in a way macam make it illegal. But when they impose such thing, it will affect the global relationship, and also how I think in a way it will affect our economy, because business would see our country as LGBT, not LGBT friendly. So global companies, big companies, they may have like a certain perception on our country on that matter. So it will eventually affect our country. So I think the government is playing safe because of that. They do not want to like risk the business
maybe
part.
in a way, yeah, I tend to agree with you in that perspective. Maybe, yeah, they are worried to external pressures. Then that goes to the subject of sovereignty. Then if you allow people to pressure you into behaving in a way that might as well be subjected to the entire world's pressure of how they think that you should run your country. Kan? Yeah. Okay, guys. Dia macam mana? Aiman?
Betul, I agree. Our sovereignty.
Sovereignty punya issue kan. So if you, it's a floodgate punya situation. If you allow this particular group of people to have the you know, their ways, and then you know what else? Susah lah, yeah. In a way that we are living in a society. Syamil, any input last? We have 3 minutes.
For the LGBT matters, Busy juga because saya dekat office.
That's okay.
Alright, so I think some of them did not ask for the recognition itself. However, they feel like threatened, or maybe they wanted to less to be skeptical by the by the rakyat Malaysia itself. So I think in that way. However, I still believe that it's immoral in order to recognize these particular groups in Malaysia.
Actually, yeah, I do agree with you. But you put in your opinion, kan? Cumanya, don't let them be victimized. You know, just because they are in that nature, you victimize them. That is not fair, because religion does not teach us to be, be unkind to people just because they are different from you. That is totally wrong. But to recognize is also a different thing altogether. So punishing them just because they are different is wrong, and recognizing them just because they are different is also wrong. So you have to find, as what Aida is saying just now, we have to have, or maybe Iman or somebody else that says that we have to have a fine line to see what is right, what is wrong. Let them be, let that, just recognize them as what they are, that they want it to be, to a certain extent, that they don't go out and demand more than what they can. But as I said, but it will still slowly eroded. Eventually, it will be in the open, and then recognition has to take place legally, and then you will have all this sort of problem that needs to be settled. The penal code have to be changed, to be amended. Inheritance law have to be amended. So many things has to be amended just because you allow one. But maybe 50 years from now, 100 years from now, we will be seeing those people having sex with animals on the street just because you have to recognize them also. Incest between father and daughters, between brothers and sisters, it will be something that is in the public. Once you open the floodgate, you will never ever be allowed to close it up again. So we will see people stealing, and then just, this is my behavior. They can prove it medically that they are suffering from that kleptomaniac punya situation. It will never stop. Yeah, it will never stop. So what I'm trying to say here, from the lesson that we are learning, law is different from morality. Law should be in a way that it is very clear, and obviously, to make things clearer. If you were to go along the odd, everything goes. Everything can be. That is just in my opinion, but this is just my opinion. You can have your own opinion, which is welcome. In exam, don't worry about stating your opinion. You're not going to be punished for different opinion with the examiners. Yeah. So guys, see you petang ni, insyaAllah. Assalamualaikum. Harisha, ya, ada soalan?
Sir, sorry, I ada satu soalan yang I curious.
Please. I don't mind staying on. So those people yang ada masalah, ada kelas lain, ya, bye-bye.
No. I just wanna ask, when will kita dapat dua lagi assignment?
Hai, Simon tak dapat lagi. Okay. Previous group on your friends ada dapat assignment tak?
Baru satu je.
Baru satu.
No, your other friends from other group.
Diorang dah dua.
Dua?
Assessment tu.
Awak tak bagi tahu. Okay, sat lagi I bagi yang the second one. So 1 week from now lah. Boleh?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. You guys kena kejar I lah. Apa-apa yang that you think macam video lah, itulah, ini materials ke. Please follow up.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Kita orang kejar, sir. Okay,
Kejar,
bye,
please.
sir.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum. Take care.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone who wants to stay and ask question and discuss? Iman nampak stay. Ya,
Thank you, sir.
Najmuddin,
Sambung
yes.
petang ke boleh ke, sir?
Sambung ke
Are
petang,
we going to
discuss?
sambung this discussion petang?
Boleh,
Oh.
because tomorrow kita tak ada apa-apa. This is the last topic. Next week we will be doing the same thing, right? Tapi kita nak tengok soalan, because
I
there's no
see.
point of discussing about this. It will never end. What we want to do is to look at the past year's question, because I nak ajar you macam mana approach of how to answer exam. Nah, tapi
Alright then,
petang
thank
ni
you, sir.
just to get things clear off. You know, some doubt, some people are just up to the standard yet. You know, some of you might be advanced. Nah, nanti kita discuss petang ni.
Boleh, sir. Thank you.
Najmuddin, ada apa-apa soalan yang nak tanya?
I mean, I was just viewing this discussion. Maybe I have a question for petang ni nanti.
Okay, good. Right. Iman, Jazriza.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
Sorry, so basically, about the contoh lah, macam I was trying to relatekan the case of UM dengan morality and law, and so sebab and then I macam the juris from the perspective of positivist juga lah kot. I mean bukan positivist, yang the aspirations of the people will always be the greatest aspect of making law. So macam contoh lah, I'm just throwing out my thoughts lah. Macam kalau the case of UM law tu, of course yes, it's her own body, her own ni apa semua bagai, as well as macam tadi pun ada discussion that it's for the greater good of the people, that is the mass majority punya wants triumphs over the individual rights of basis. In the same time, what about the matter pasal it was a clinical test, memang kena interaction dengan orang. Sebab I've had this discussion with KKM representative juga, dia cakap pasal sebenarnya ikut scientific data juga, macam vaccines are just to help lessen the effects if a person gets the virus. Sebab a person can still be a carrier and get infected and can still spread it asymptomatic. So macam mana tu sebenarnya?
Yeah, because can you identify that just because taking vaccination would prevent you from exposing yourself to COVID and later towards your patient? There is no data that can prove vaccination stop 100%. You still can, itu yang masalahnya, because you let somebody to decide on the behavior of another, not based on law, but based on their interpretation. So because of that, it will open up so many arguments, so many interpretation. So the law have to come in to save the day lah, so more or less. This is the function of the law. This is where hard is more, I like towards hard punya argument, because law is law. Morality is not something for you to decide, because if you were to say morality is up to me, then everyone is having every right to say whatever they want. So that doesn't stop other institutions, say for example working institution, to stop people workers from coming to work, just because they haven't got their vaccination. So they memang benda ni thousands of years punya issues lah,
Faham.
kan? Jas, macam mana Jas? What do you think?
Macam ni, I have a lot of views lah regarding this UM case. So the first view is that I agree with you that memang tak patut pun diorang bar her just because of dia nak ambil vaksin. And I have my justification lah. My justification is that although memanglah dia tak patut, memanglah dia kena ambil vaccination apa, tapi itu hak dia. Itu satu. Yang kedua, cara UM handle the situation to me was unjust in the fact that they are setting up a precedence in which they are trying to discriminate those yang ada, those dah vaccinated and those yang not vaccinated. And this is because to me, tak kisahlah dia clinical ke atau dia bukan clinical, there should be some requirements in the sense of dia orang nak buat physical exam. Misalnya buatlah PCR test. If dia buat PCR test and then it's memang 100% is tested negative, then why not just put them in class? That was my
That doesn't make sense kan?
I was questioning UM so much because like macam memanglah salah, memanglah orang punya view macam like, oh kau patut ambil vaccination, tapi itu hak dia. Itu hak dia nak ambil ke tak. Tapi in the sense of you nak achieve herd community pun, you can't force it. If you want to make a law to force it, you have to make sure everything is equal. Macam case dalam Martin Luther King punya letter tu. If you want to enact an unjust law, how people are going to follow you?
Betul.
If you paksa.
You buat apartheid in South Africa kan? Apartheid is the segregation between blacks and white. You think that it is just because the majority of the society my wife ada kelas. Tak apa, it's okay. Kita sambung dekat dalam bilik. So, can you imagine? No, it's okay. Can you imagine just because you think you are in power, you decide whether what is right, what is wrong, right? So you decide kata, oh ini I punya hak lah, I boleh buat. So what will happen? Even government pun macam tu bahaya kan?
Betul. Tapi sir, macam tu a question juga macam kalau dekat US sekarang ni, and also other countries banyak juga sekarang which is implementing, if you want to travel, you have to take the vaccine. In US dah macam tu, and a lot of other countries pun sekarang tengah move towards that lah.
Because that is their right kan.
Sebab argument Azaris pun betul juga, yang betul ke salah, Zaris punya argument is relatively itulah macam saya punya cakap lah, which is for the greater people ke something like that lah. Sebab basically what UM is doing is forcing kan. Ugut lah macam if you don't want to take the vaccine, then you cannot take.
You cannot travel. Can you imagine you not being able to travel without vaccination? Macam it is being imposed on you that indirectly kan?
Betul. So macam itu sir. Kalau
because they are sovereign countries, they have the right to safeguard their population kan? So the same thing for us lah.
No, I mean for yang travel tu is on their own people juga maksudnya.
Oh, even though that is to battle it out dalam court of law.
Faham.
Betul tak? Kita when we think that there is an ambiguity dalam kat situ, then we let the judge to decide lah. Because if you allow, jadi macam Hitler lah. I mean, you as Jews, ramai orang Islam yang kena bunuh just because dia buka seluar, dia tengok you sunat ke tak. Orang Islam kena sunat, orang Jews pun sunat. So therefore they were identified as under the Jews punya ramai yang kena bunuh.
Faham.
Kan, jadi you let them decide. What is the position of law? Is it just? Is it fair? Jadi kalau macam tu dah jadi macam mana satu is ke odd ni nak kena ambil ni. Kan, kalau dia kata is salah tu. Kalau I pegang pada is kan, kata Jews semua kena bunuh. I don't care. Apa salah dia orang? Budak-budak, orang tua, perempuan, apa salah dia orang? Maybe the men yang go against them in war, maybe they deserve to be punished. But what happened to those people? Kesian. Jadi I kena ambil position odd pula lah. So jadi I keep on moving from east and odd, just like I think ramai yang dalam you all, whenever there is a problem, you kadang-kadang you ada east, kadang-kadang you jadi odd.
Faham.
It is subject to our interpretation juga kan sir?
Yes. So jadi nothing is right, nothing is wrong.
And also I agree with your opinion regarding that we cannot force our own ideologies to people because it's up to them. So,
betul. Kalau kita habis-habis kita kata kubur lain-lain lah.
Exactly, betul, agree.
You're going to answer to God yourself. You're not going to be answering for other people. In your own domain, memanglah kalau you were seorang bapa, memang you are going to be answerable to your family. Kan? I mean kalau dia nak buat LGBT, by all means, saya setuju. Me and my wife, we are very liberal, you know. You nak buat lah. Tapi janganlah to the extent that you want to portray your attitude dekat public, you know. You want to do it yourself, lantak lah. You nak ambil dadah, lantak lah. You nak menjadi kafir, lantak lah.
It's more about your private morality je.
Tapi the moment you pergi kata, kita semua kena, agama ini salah.
Salah.
You know, salah lah. I mean, you tak nak solat, you up to you lah, you and God. You know, tapi the moment you kata solat adalah salah dari segi etika manusia, then you are going against the group. And then maybe deserve to be killed kot. Because orang macam ni bahaya, because dia keluar kata benda yang tak patut. Dia later because orang macam ni dia akan decide, nanti later dia influence kata kita tak payah solat adalah against the religion, you know. Bahaya. Itu racun besar.
Just sharing apa, just kau ada NGO sendiri just pasal lawyers tu.
Joining Street Law Movement ada 2 sekarang lakukan.
Macam mana?
Saya ada 2 projek, dua society yang saya join. Saya sekarang join dengan Street Law Movement, dengan satu lagi saya ada buat satu macam legal awareness page lah, saya dengan kawan saya. So kita orang buat regarding pasal law juga, pasal what is the, contoh macam kes yang dekat Section 24 tu, yang kes yang neighbours tu. So kita orang buat legal awareness semua tu. And in the process of now ni pun saya pun tengah buat juga artikel pasal rape dengan sexual harassment by police officers. So saya pun argue based on legal standards and also by morality. Contoh macam polis kan, for yang kes Kota Baru tu, saya argue regarding unjust law and as well of how power corrupts people in the sense of Acton punya jurisprudential view. So yang tu saya tengah buat, saya tengah macam bergiat nak menulis banyak sikit.
Very good, because you want to correct the society in terms of what is supposed to be kan. So I mean, let us discuss. You know, you obviously you have other people saying something else, you know, going against you. They have every right to let us discuss, you know. Tapi rather than kita tak discuss, is hush or under the carpet, sampai bila kita nak resolve benda tu kan?
Betul. Kalau ada big platform which people can address their issues semua tu, I think it should be okay. But if you cakap belakang je macam, there's no point.
Lagi cakap belakang tak apa. Lagi satu hal, yang punishing them for the differences that they have, you know, LGBT, hina dia orang, social distancing them, social sanction, that is wrong. Cuba kata kita jadi gay, kita beranak-beranak dah memang ada inclination of gayism. So what do you think? So jadi macam kesian lah kat dia orang. I mean, they don't want to be in that position. You know, the fact that whether they want to be in that position, suka, or they don't want to be in that position, that is another issue lah kan.
Yes.
Just kesian lah kat dia orang. I mean, you don't victimize them. Itulah my opinion. I don't know whether you guys you don't have to agree with me, you know.
Saya banyak je opinion saya kan pasal LGBT ni. Sebab macam kan memanglah, if you want to talk about religion wise memang salah lah semua kan. But
memang
if you want to talk about social norms and whatnot, I think like macam it's up to you lah. You want to do LGBT or not. But don't try to implement your ideology to our ideology.
Yes, I mean dalam surah pun banyak your religion is your religion, my religion is my religion.
Back in the day masa saya kat MSU ada je kes macam tu, sir. Saya ingat lagi kes macam tu. So cakap dengan dia macam don't try to implement your ideology to us. Lepas tu dia cakap, oh, so you're trying to discriminate LGBTs. I'm like, I'm not discriminating LGBT. I'm trying to say that you can promote whatever you want, but you have to do it in your own private morality. Jangan you try to spread this to the society because people have different views. So I cakap lah macam like you can't even try to do this because jurisprudential wise, if you want trying to force people to follow what you want to follow, it's wrong.
Because what if I impose on the things that I want you to do?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's fair, you want to impose your idea, I want to impose my idea. Let us go to an agreement. Let us agree to disagree. As long as you don't impose me, macam kenapa kita, I tengok orang Islam kan, selalu orang Kristian dah memang lah, Kristian dengan Islam, they would like to debate. I have a better religion than you. Enough, sudah, that's it. Everyone knows that their religion, and respect other religions, then we have a peaceful life. Ini tak nak kena bercari-cari orang, nak prove kata dia orang salah,
Betul. Macam
don't force it others.
Macam political, what is your opinion regarding political correctness kalau macam kat Australia? Like macam, this is what from my understanding lah, they always like do political correctness in which diorang akan selalu like, macam ni kau? Diorang macam pentingkan diorang punya views rather than people, ada punya opinion, if I'm not mistaken lah.
Individualism lah kan.
Individualism, yes.
Because promoting individual rights, and then everyone have the right to say whatever they want. It has to be something that you have to take into consideration. Kalau macam tu, it opens the floodgate of any issues to be interpreted in their own way of how they see things. So sampai bila benda tu nak kena resolve? It has to be macam Devlin kata, it has to be something. Yes, you allow them to have some rights, but you have to maintain a quorum. Because kalau tak maintain quorum, the destruction of the society will happen. Contoh, saya bagi contoh, Afghanistan siapa ya? Taliban. If you allow them to have some interpretation of their own way of Islamic law, Sharia, they will interpret it as everyone have to have hijab, which they punish the woman for not wearing the hijab, right?
Yes.
What happened to the society? Did they manage to convince what is Islam all about? When you force somebody to do something against their will, eventually, everything starts to collapse. You cannot force. Like Ikraf Fiddin is a very strong punya argument by God. Saya kata dia paksa dia orang, tak guna. They will always be like that.
Betul, agree?
Agree kan?
Agree.
Kesian kita cuma boleh kesian kat dia orang, because they are being tested, because we are being tested in our own ways, which Allah saja yang tahu how are you going through your testing that you are going through right now. How am I going through with my testing? I know I'm being tested, you know that you are being tested. They have to realize that they are being tested. So don't just generalize to people.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Guys, Iman, Jas, kita jumpa kau ni insyaAllah. Assalamualaikum.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.